Ooh, that's pretty. Is that Lacanalia viridis?
Yeah, viridifolia,
That's-
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine are just
Wow.
as bud.
It actually flowered twice this past year,
What?
which I didn't think it could do. Yeah, it flowered early in the spring and then it came again sometime in the, I don't know, summer or
Wow.
early summer. Yeah, it was weird.
You're being
It had
very
never
nice
done
to
that.
them.
It's getting older, you know. I got it at Cal Hort, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And I got this in the
Ooh.
raffle. And this one is kind of an unusual one. You don't find it. It's hard to buy.
Yeah, it's not the quadrifolia, quadricolor. Yeah.
Right, right.
Well, Bart has a lot of them, and there's another gentleman in San Francisco that grows a lot of South African bulbs.
Well, I think we're all starting to now after having these great talks that we've had.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Yeah.
I have 3 new Lachnalias in the garden now, thanks to Judy.
Oh, that's right. How are they
Yay.
doing?
So far, so good. They're in the ground. I haven't taken pictures back there yet. It's still kind of all messed up, but it's getting there. It's pretty close.
Wow, your bed's going to be gorgeous in the spring.
Yeah, it really is.
Hi, Saxton.
Hello, Ellen. I want to know who brought cocktails to the meeting.
Oh, Saxon,
like
I
I
thought
did.
that was on your list. I thought that was you. Oh,
What do
you
you
got. Yeah.
I'm going to drink my tea first to get warm. And then once I'm warm, I'll drink the wine.
I don't know if you guys are drink hard liquor, but hot toddy is really the perfect thing for a damp.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a
That'll warm
really
you
good
up.
idea.
It's so easy to make. Bartenders don't know how to make it. It's maybe
Oh,
so old fashioned that, it's not fancy at all. It's just, hot water and whiskey and a little honey and squeeze of lemon juice. And there you have a hot toddy.
Oh, my.
Kind of
Oh, Ellen, I
video
like
in
your
here.
background.
The party background.
All right.
Welcome everybody to the party. Thanks for joining us. We probably get some more coming in, I would think. But we've got a interesting forum this evening, and we'll go ahead and get started with that. Welcome again to the Cal Hort Society year party. We don't always have a December meeting, but since we didn't have one in November, we decided we better have a little fun on here's our party.
we had a pretty good time, I think, in November too. Actually, that sale went very well, I thought. Kudos to you, Ellen.
Well,
That's wonderful.
definitely a group effort for sure. We had a good, nice turnout, I thought.
I thought so.
The plants
What's that?
are wonderful.
Yeah, they were.
Thank you, everybody, for participating this month. Everybody will have a little drawing at the end of the forum, and for prizes. Everybody's that participated will have a name for a prize for the for raffle there. And next month, if you want to participate, send them in by January 16th at 5 p.m. and we'll get you in there. Robbie on yet? Well, Robbie moved up into Oakland, Oregon, which is on a little bit south of, I think, Eugene. It's on the west side of Oregon, kind of southwest side of Oregon. And she moved in 2017, and they evidently had a really prized rose bush that they loved. And they dug it up, and then here's the new bed in Oregon. And then here's her husband. I don't know what her husband's name is, but evidently he's the digger and the planter there. Got it in place, and evidently it must have been a hot day.
Beautiful.
He's bushed. And then here it is in early summer of 2020.
Oh, great. It looks
nice-
beautiful.
Yeah,
Sure
it really
does.
took off, didn't it?
Wow.
They're pretty resilient on setting forth and producing flowers for sure.
Well, Portland is the Rose City.
That is true. Point. Good point. Yeah.
And she's an amazing rose collector.
Oh, that's good to know. Hello, Kristen. How are you?
Fine, how are you? I can't believe you're still doing this, Ellen, after that plant sale. I mean, you guys are
So
You're
I,
the
I went-
Energizer Bunny.
I went to the last month's Western Hort meeting, had a wonderful presentation on crevice gardens, and you can access that, which I would recommend, on the Western Hort website.
It's
You go
actually
to
on
links.
YouTube. Actually, it's on YouTube, Ellen.
Yeah, well, you can get the link on the website.
Can you?
Nice.
Oh, okay.
So you can probably search it out on YouTube as well. It is on YouTube. So anyway, so this got me going on to making a crevice garden. So I have this tufa tub, and the plant on the right I already had planted for years and years and years, probably from the mid 2000s. And that was the only thing that was really growing. I had another little tree thing in there, but I took it out and planted all my new little babies from the plant sale. You miss Saxon.
Yeah.
I have a lot of little alpine things. So I have the little anemone on the right there, and then Penstemon proceres, which is evidently it's a meadow plant. So I didn't think so. I found this out after I planted it, but Art said it would probably grow well anyway because down here it just wants the good drainage. So hopefully that'll be okay. And then I got a little Erinus alpinus. I like the name, it matches. So in that corner. And then a little cute little saxifraga that the foliage looks like little kind of roses, the way the arrangement of the foliage is. And then you can just see the little bit of the iris coming up on the side there. So
That's great.
anybody know what that plant might be on the right?
You know, I contributed something to the plant sale that looked rather like that, and Bart put a name on it. I would have to go back and dig through my emails to see what it is. And I can do that.
How big
How
is
big is
your
this?
garden?
Well, the tufa tub was made out of a mailbox. So what's that, about 2 feet by maybe 18 inches? I would highly recommend that inspiring presentation from the Western Hort last month.
Oh my
Pardon?
gosh, look at that.
I was driving to Costco the other day and I thought this was awesome.
Wow.
Have it. Well, they're in Concord and it's, extremely hot in Concord. These, I'm assuming these are fruitless mulberries that they've pollarded to make a nice canopy to shade themselves. They've got a tire swing here and patio furniture there.
Wow.
Well, Janet provided this, and she was comparing last year from this year for her ribes. And
Wow.
in the middle, it's from last year in January. So everything's about a month earlier. And the stuff that's in the shade never lost its leaves, I think she said. First photo is blooming right now. So to the right, the left, excuse me. And the second is from January of 2021. It seems to be at least a month earlier. Another note is that with no summer water, the half that gets the most afternoon sun lost its leaves this year and has yet to bloom. The side and more shade from the California pepper tree above it keeps its leaves and is blooming early. And then she also says her pomelo, which is ripening a couple months earlier than usual, but she hasn't quite picked them yet. But at this time, they're usually still green. Janet's in Campbell. We've all experienced a lot of weirdo early confused plants this year with that nice rain early on and then nothing after that.
I have a ribes white icicle that's just starting to bloom right now, and it usually doesn't bloom until January either, so it's early.
Yeah, Bart has one in his thing as well.
Sorry, I just got here. No,
Hello, Janet.
I don't
Do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. My pomelo has lots of fruit this year and it's very early, so that's why I took a picture of it.
Did you make a real effort to water it, Janet? Is that why it's so productive this year, or why do you think?
If anything, it got less water this year than it has in the past. Like a lot of citrus, it might tend to alternate bare. And I had maybe half a dozen fruit this year, and I probably have a dozen. Half last year, and I probably have a dozen this year. And the trees, about 10 feet tall and 5 or 6 feet across. So
Wow.
it's quite heavily laden this year.
What do you do with the pomelos?
Well, you can eat it. If they're smaller ones, you can eat them kind of like a grapefruit. Just cut them in half and eat them out with a spoon. Or sometimes I peel them and just eat the sections too.
Okay.
The white part is kind of tough, so I peel the sections themselves too.
Oh, okay.
They're tough enough, they're easy to peel.
Yeah, they're tough enough, they're easy to peel.
Yeah.
It's not quite as juicy as a grapefruit either. So it's not as messy to peel.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Brashears, who gardens at Oakdale, sent this, and she gave it some advice. If you have one of the Cesalpinias,
Salpinia, yeah. Culturima. Oh, nice.
The red bird of paradise. She trims hers down to the a foot in this time of year.
Wow.
She says December 1st, but I think you can probably do it tomorrow and still be okay.
So mine is, actually mine has no foliage on it yet. It might just be the temperature in Berkeley compared to where you are. And it's not, mine is not Pulcherima, mine is Casalpinia. Ooh, I don't know. It's just
The yellow one?
Yeah, the yellow one. It's
I
got
think Mark
red
has
in
the
it.
yellow
but
one too.
Yeah, if Bart comes on, I'd like to know whether he has any leaves on. Mine's just completely bare, which they are in the high desert. That's where I bought it and brought it up here, and it's struggled ever since. It really, like the desert, it grew wild without any water or anything, but here it doesn't. It struggles.
You don't have any
You had
heat.
me excited. I thought you had the red one.
No, I think mine is just the standard bird of paradise. Desert, we called it desert bird of paradise. So I don't know. I know it's not Pulcherima though.
Mark, don't you have the yellow one as well?
I'm growing the yellow one.
Oh, good.
Does it have
good.
foliage on it right now?
Actually, it's looking pretty browned out. It's, I mean, in spite of the benign weather, I don't think there's any flowers on it anymore. It looks like it's kind of tired, but I don't prune mine back very hard. I cut it back.
No, I don't either.
It looks like good wood, and that's it. You know.
Well, you might try this.
Yeah, that's an idea. I haven't tried it. Suzanne, where does this grow?
I don't think she's on.
Oh, she's not on. Do we know where
I don't-
Suzanne is?
She's in Oakdale, but she also has
Oh, Oakdale.
pictures
Okay.
down in Palm Desert.
Oh, okay.
Not
Yes.
sure where this is. I assume it's-
Yes, this could be Palm Desert.
Yeah.
But both
Very
those places get
definitely.
probably colder than Berkeley, I would think, in the wintertime.
Cold is not a problem. It's the heat that they want, you
Hmm.
know, and we just can't give it to them here on the coast, but inland, plenty of heat.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, Oakdale
I-
gets pretty hot.
I don't think that's true because I've tried to grow the yellow one and I had
Yeah.
it going for a few years, but I think it's also about the nights. The more I grow tropicals and desert plants, they really like that night heat, and we drop to 60 or less every night in Danville.
You know, I was in the high desert, which meant that it was about 4,000 feet, and it was not all that warm at night. I mean, it was certainly warmer than here, but in, you know, and it wasn't hot by any means in the summertime, and it was, so yeah, and as I said, it would grow as a volunteer, and it would become a 10-foot wide bush in a year and a half. It was
Wow.
just incredible, but it liked to really roast.
Hmm.
And that would be, it was not on a water line. That didn't matter. You know, it was incredible. So, but this one just looks so beautiful.
Maybe I'll try that. Like hot. Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have several Hoyas, and this is the only one that's really blooming. And this one, I got off of the plant table, one of our, I guess we call it opportunity table. And I understood Kristen was the one who brought it to share. I'm just enjoying that it has a whole lot of flowers, and
It has flowers now?
yeah, a whole lot.
Wow. Is that inside?
No, it's in my little alcove entry to the front door. So there's glass on the west side, but there's the neighbor's house not far away, and then it's open on the north side. You know, we had some really warm days a while back, which maybe is what set up the flowers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Get a lot of
It's a
sun.
little slow to totally open up, but there's a whole bunch there.
Online it says they can bloom any time of the year. and then they don't want to dry out. evidently.
Yeah, I have one that bloomed in September/October. It was in bloom for quite a while, but it's gone now. It's just looking kind of shocked at the cold.
And then I didn't realize that the Asclepiaceae is now a subfamily of the
Apocinaceae.
Apocinaceae. Yeah, so I put that in there too because I thought that was interesting. Because I kind of got different. I was looking it up, and I had some people said it was an Asclepiaceae, and some people had, in some references said it was an Apocinaceae. And so, but then I found that out, so I thought that was interesting. Now, Judy.
Oh, wow.
Somebody sent me this and it was just amazing. There's this guy named
Oh, it's the cake.
Vincenti. I first
Oh
saw the
my
first one
gosh.
in the upper left and then the one on the bottom. And I'm going, oh my gosh, what's he doing to the 4-inch pot? And then the last one, and you see it's a cake.
Wow.
Isn't that impressive?
Yeah.
So Luke Vincentini, and he does all kinds of things, but he had a vase of flowers, peonies, that he made a cake out of. And you look on his website and it's like this vase and you think it's a vase of peonies. And then he cuts a wedge out of it and it's a cake. But
Oh my gosh.
this one was quite impressive, I thought.
Major prize to whoever brings one of those to a copy in the garden.
Yes.
I'll work
Right.
on a friend of mine. Did you have the other pictures, Ellen?
So Judy admired this one, and then
I talked a friend of mine into
Oh.
making that cake on the right.
Wow.
It was for my birthday. It was a special birthday. And she said, Judy, don't ever ask me to do that again. Because they spent a lot of time doing that.
Oh,
But
did
you
they?
can see the close-up of the flowers that they made. So Mark, I'll start working on her and see if I can get her to do it
Holy
again.
moly.
Isn't that impressive?
Major prize. Major prize.
Yeah. Wow. That's
What are
beautiful.
all the plants made out of? Is that just flowers?
They made them separately and froze them, and then we're able to take them out and put them on top of the cake after they made the cake.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
I don't know if it's that meringue, that royal icing. I don't know what it's called.
I think it's regular frosting. I've seen them do,
Have they?
Wow.
it's a thick buttercream usually.
Look at the
Oh, is
little
that what it
baby.
is? Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that it's butter
Wow.
for sure.
Look
Yeah.
at the little baby toes down in the left corner.
I know. I was pretty impressed with that. I thought like, wow,
Oh, that's really sweet.
isn't it? It was real special. I had requested it a
Very.
year and a half ago. I said, can you make a cake like this for me?
You are
But
well.
how could you bring yourself to eat it?
Because it had a raspberry filling. It was delicious.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
And
But
Judy
yeah.
was of a certain celebrating year.
Well, it was a big year. It was a big year. I turned
It
70
was a
this
big
year.
year.
Oh,
It was 70
congratulations.
candles.
So yeah, but anyway, I thought you might enjoy that because I thought that other cake was exceptional. And this one ain't bad
And
either.
this one's pretty exceptional too.
Oh. Ellen was asking for stories, and who's here? Jan will know this one. A friend gave me a bag of chestnuts, and we were talking about it because she'd just gone back to Pennsylvania and said how wonderful the chestnuts were back there. And she gave me this bag of chestnuts, and I was looking online to see what should I do with them. And then I realized that they were California buckeyes, which are toxic, and they're not the same as the East Coast chestnuts.
Right. You can't
Yeah.
Well,
eat
and actually-
buckeyes.
I think the chestnuts that you buy in the store are Italian.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
something.
Really?
Yeah,
Different,
our native chestnut trees are almost gone. They were destroyed by some sort of disease.
Well, you know, it was interesting. I looked online. There is a chestnut farm above Palo Alto up on Skyline.
That could be.
And they've been there for years. This family owns it, called the something Chestnut Ranch. So next year I'm going to try and see if I can go up and pick some because they're the real chestnut sativa, not the Aesculus californicus.
Right.
Yeah.
I make a delicious dessert. It's a tradition in my family called chestnut puree, And you
Ooh.
bake you have to split the chestnuts, bake the chestnuts, peel the chestnuts, then cook them in whole milk until they
Oh my
soften up.
gosh.
Until
Then
they what?
Until they soften up. So chestnuts are fatty, but you have to use whole milk because you need the fat of the milk to solidify everything. And then you put it through, you make a pile of whipped cream, and then
Ooh.
you put it through the chestnut puree through a ricer, and it comes out like worms.
Ooh.
And they serve this in Italy, France, Switzerland, Austria. It's Austrian-Hungarian in a very big way, and I'm
Oh,
Austrian-Hungarian.
she froze. Oh, there you go.
Oh, I'm back. Am I back?
Is it a dessert or what is
You're
it?
fine.
It's a dessert. It is something really, I mean, you put a little rum in the chestnut puree,
Oh, nice.
but it's not overly sweet. You put sugar in based on taste, but European sweets are not as sweet as ours.
Right.
Mm.
And it's just very rich. I don't want you to think this is a low-cal dessert. It is not, but it is so divine.
Mm. So you buy
Sounds
your
good.
chestnuts at the market then, and they're
Yeah.
usually Italian?
Usually they come from Italy. Sometimes they come from China, but I think the Chinese also grow the same. I think it's all sativa. I'm not positive, but they all taste the same. So I assume they
How
just-
much do you need? How much chestnuts do you need? Just curious.
Well, I'm going to serve 6 people, and I bought a pound of chestnuts with the
Okay.
shells on them. So
Okay,
it's
a
not
pound's
over-
not bad.
No,
No.
it's still there's also a special chestnut knife. It's a round curvy knife,
Oh my
which
gosh.
I highly recommend you get. And only because it's very hard to split, and inevitably you burn your fingers because you gotta peel them hot. This is not easy. This is not easy dessert, by the way.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But to me, it's worth having, and to me, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
I'll
I
put
had to
it-
tell my friend to tell their neighbor because their neighbor had picked him up. And the difference between Aesculus californica and Castanea sativa is that there's like a little hair or something on the tip of the edible chestnuts. They look
Huh.
exactly the same, but there's like a little
Oh, wow.
filament, I guess, that comes out of the top of the edible one. Do you ever notice that, Kristen?
No, all I know is that I've seen the horse chestnuts out here, and they're huge relative to
Oh.
and they are probably 2 to 3 times the size of a regular chestnut.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So I would not even, I mean,
I'd never
Yeah.
seen him before, so.
oh,
They would never
Yeah.
be sold in a store as edible. They're huge. They're the biggest seed there is in California. They're huge.
The ones you buy in the store, Saxon?
You never see them in the store.
Oh, you
No,
don't?
no, you
Say-
wouldn't eat them. They're poisonous.
The
Yeah.
poisonous, yeah, that's why.
yeah, they're
No, there are
poisonous and
horse
they're
chestnuts.
huge, and they're in a different plant family and everything.
Yeah.
There's not much similar. It's chestnuts are in the oak family, Fagaceae,
Oh.
and so they're more closely related to oaks than they are to buckeyes. And buckeye fruits are completely rounded and are in a different kind of husk than
Really?
chestnuts. Yeah, and that and again, when Kristen was talking about buying them, there are Chinese species and European species.
I did not know that. Thanks, Bart.
Yeah, and that there are actually even hybrids between the two, and then there's hybrids between our East Coast ones and the non-native ones that were being done to basically bring back dentata to the eastern forests. But that hasn't been very successful yet. Although I was reading something, there's been a lot of interest in breeding chestnuts to bring dentata back to the eastern woodlands.
And if anyone is interested, I'm going to step away. Behind me is a huge buckeye tree.
Oh, good.
There you go.
Aha, that is
And just-
huge.
Just wanted to say a quick thank you to Judy. I was the one that collected all those California chestnuts, and I've got the seeds started, and I'm hoping they're all
Oh.
gonna come up.
That Carol, hi.
Yeah, that Carol.
Oh, good. And have they germinated?
Not yet. I expect them to take almost a month.
Wow.
Talking about edible chestnuts, if you're ever in France this time of year, a specialty is candied chestnuts, which you can only get at this time of year in France, and they're
Ooh.
absolutely delicious.
Are they like a candy or a confection?
Yes, they are. They cook them for a long time with sugar, and they come out sweet and very soft because they're cooked.
Oh, and if you go to New York, there are chestnut carts all over New York, and they sell little bags of hot chestnuts. That was my childhood memory of.
Now, are those from Italy then, do you think?
I
Kristen?
think those were from Italy, yeah. And it was, but I tell the story, my mom said, my grandfather was imprisoned in Romania by the communists. And when he got out, he came to New York to visit. And it was the winter, he came for Christmas, and my mom, they were walking the streets, and like a child, he said to my mom, do you think I could have a bag of chestnuts? Because that was the thing in his childhood. You know, it was just, and you would put them in your pocket, and then you would take them out, and it would warm your hands up. And chestnuts in general are sweet. When I made my chestnut puree this year, I have a tendency these days to burn everything. So what I do is I heat them up in the milk, and then I turn the stove off because I get distracted, and I keep doing that. And as a result, the milk and the chestnuts were together for a long time in the pot for about almost 2 days. But then when I tasted them, I really debated even putting sugar in, because I assume, first of all, the lactose from the milk is sweet. And then, of course, the chestnuts themselves are sweet. So that's why I say don't put too much sugar in until you've tasted, because it might be sweet enough.
Kristen, just a question. Do you think it would ever work with dried chestnuts? Because you can buy dried chestnuts from China.
I would think you could, because they just take the moisture out of it. If you cook them back in milk, it should work. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I look forward to the recipe. I might give it a try.
Yeah. Well, sometimes people also, I'm writing it now, but I realize I have to remember to tell you to split them. If you don't split chestnuts when you bake them, they blow up in your oven.
They're in the shell, right?
This is an exciting recipe, Kristen.
Well,
but they're in the shell, right?
You always split the chestnuts. Just thought by sharing that information to you this way, I'm sure you will remember to do it.
Yes. Wait a minute. What if they're already shelled and dried?
I did buy, well, if they're shelled, then all you have to do is put them in with the milk, just cook it very slowly.
Okay.
I have never done it in a crock pot, but I imagine that would be useful.
That might work.
And peeling them is, it was a family event, because I used to make a lot of it at one time, because we would invite people over for Christmas. And I swear people just disappeared from the dining room when I said, okay, who's going to help peel chestnuts?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I mean, there are funny stories to tell about it. But if you go in some countries, and I think it's Switzerland, they call it snow on the mountain as the dessert. And they put the chestnut puree on the bottom and the whipped cream on the top.
Oh my.
Oh, pretty.
But
That'd
it's
be
the same
nice.
thing. You know, it just looks like snow on the mountain, right? But it's still the same concept.
I'd like to try that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to write in here now, split chestnuts before.
Yes, you do.
Okay, well, thank you guys. Okay, so this is a follow-up from October forum. So shown this rhodophylla by Fida, very
Spathaceae.
And then there was some talk about that it looked like the Xanthranthus. So Mary had provided a picture of the Xanthranthus, but who knows? I don't know. Has anybody got any thoughts on that? Obviously, the Xanthranthus has the foliage up, and the rhodophylla does not.
Huh.
But
And
they're
the
similar.
rhodophylla has one extra petal.
Oh, it does.
That's weird.
Doesn't
Well,
it?
I'm sure that's not regular. I'm sure it's supposed to be 3s and 6s.
So
And
what are you
Okay.
saying about the 7 petals then?
that occasionally, I mean, like many plants do, they'll just do an extra petal, and that it's probably because
I
the
know.
plant's very happy, well fertilized, whatever.
Oh,
And that it probably will just do it the one time, or a couple of times, but that if it's really a mutation, it would have one less stamen. And so if you can go in there and count stamens, if they're, because stamens can go petaloid, that's what most double flowers are, like double roses. All of those extra petals beyond the 5 are stamens that have become petaloid.
Oh,
Interesting. So any thoughts on if these are the same or if they're totally different?
other than the leaf, well, the fact that there's no leaves on the rhodophalia and the extra, so the petal isn't is indicative. Is that what you're saying, Bart?
Right.
So that doesn't make any difference evidently to its identity.
However, the one thing I am seeing on the one with the extra petal, the pistil also is 4-parted instead of 3. But if you look at the other one in the pod, it is 3. So there's clearly some sort of mutation thing going on with that one.
Well, thank you, Ellen, for putting that together.
Okay, so the rhodophylla is correctly identified then, but they just look the same, similar.
Well, I
Conclusion?
still have my doubts. I should look into it some more.
Okay.
Now, which picture is what was mine?
These 2 on the right are on the left are yours.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Presented
No
in
leaves.
October.
Yeah.
And the one on the right is Mary's
Okay.
Branthes coronata.
And I still have leaves on this thing, no more flowers, but I have leaves, and that's kind of unusual because usually they disappear, but we've had kind of a cool fall. It's been a lot hotter in the fall, so the leaves will disappear, but they're still around.
And I still have leaves on mine too.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you didn't have
interesting.
much leaves on them when they were blooming there, it doesn't look like.
No, there wasn't. When I saw them at Sierra Azul, though, I remember they did have leaves. They were in the ground. They were blooming and they did have some leaves. So
What time of year?
it was late summer, early fall, probably early fall. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, when I got it from them, I was told that it was the oxblood lily.
Okay.
But,
Right, which is Rhodophylla bifida.
right.
And that, yeah, I do have those that are deep, deep, deep red. But again, the flower shape and all just is more Zephyranthes like. And there are now zillions of hybrid ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were they hybridized among with other Zephyranthes, or do you think there's a cross?
Yes. No, with other Zephyranthes.
And
And
wouldn't you
that also might explain that mutation.
But wouldn't you expect them to have leaves though in bloom, like the Zephyranthes does?
Except some of them, again, there are a lot of different Zephyranthes species, and that I don't believe all of them have leaves and flowers at the same time. Although I've never really gotten into them because, again, generally speaking, Zephyranthes want warmer weather in order to bloom well. I mean, probably, where I am and actually where Mary is, they shouldn't be that happy and flowering a lot. They would do much better in the South Bay and inland because they generally like to have, I think it's temperatures above 70 or 75 in order to bloom. And that's why so many of them are grown in Texas and parts of the South, much more than California. and that my bifidus didn't even flower this year, but they used to flower incredibly heavy every year when I lived in Upland in LA.
So you're talking about the rhodophylla.
Yes, yes. But the rhodophyallas, I mean, some of the Chilean, many of the Chilean ones are more coastal and probably will do better than Zephyranthes in general. Although, again, Bifida likes hotter weather than I have here in Point Richmond.
Well, they haven't bloomed in years. And I was gonna say our summer was actually relatively cool compared to last year.
Yeah.
But if they need heat to bloom, why are they blooming?
Who knows? Everything's really behaving strangely.
Strangely, so strangely, yeah.
Nature is a wonder.
Yeah, well, on climate change, everything's up for grabs. I mean, I have a lot of things that normally would be up by now that are bulbs that haven't even showed up yet.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Mark. This is Mark's evolution of a portion there.
So how strange for a plant form, huh? But it seemed like we were looking for stories and all sorts of stuff. So here's one. So this is the only garden I've made. And this is in the back. I call that thing in the center the gravel entry garden. So it's kind of about that area. And just 3 phases. The first one, you see how, I mean, basically the only thing in the back part of the garden was a fig tree and a persimmon tree. I don't think there was anything else.
Oh,
so
my.
Like,
oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
That was your yard?
That was. So in the beginning, it was like, you know, I kind of laid out this thing. And of course, I sketched out, you know, from above bird's eye view. And it, of course, being in a garden isn't anything like what you see from a bird's eye unless you're a bird. So that was useless. But one of the first things that helped define, kind of give some definition to the space was putting these archways in. So there's an archway there on the bottom left.
Oh, yeah.
And also naively, I thought I would need a greenhouse so I could take cuttings of things before the winter. And I did that for a while, and it actually was useful a few times, but I don't do that anymore. Now the shade structure is the one I find does the most work for me. And this sort of is back around the same time, only with the roses kind of coloring up. So this is that one archway, and there's used to be a circle of lawn there. I got rid of that because I have female dogs, and female dogs and lawns don't go together very well. So I was keeping the female dogs.
Yeah.
And I used to have a whatchamacallit tree, a Palo Verde back there. That's gone. I used to have a tree fern back there. That's gone. Yeah.
You didn't like it, or what was wrong with that?
Well, you know, I guess I didn't. You know, I didn't get a named version or a nice one with lots of flowers, and it was okay. I mean, I wanted it to be useful for birds. But I don't know. It just shaded things out that I cared more about, so I got rid of it.
Yeah, well, I'm actually surprised you could grow one in your location.
Yeah,
again,
that big.
They love heat and,
I know.
intense sunlight. So it's impressive that you could even grow it.
You know, the damnedest thing is when I pulled it out, I crammed a bit of root mass into a 5-gallon bucket and stuck it in the back someplace, and the thing grew. You know, I mean, I finally just got rid of it anyway. It didn't want to go, but it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then this is sort of in between. The next thing to come in was the fountain and there's blue chairs, and those have been kind of anchors for that part of the garden for the longest time. I think on the upper left one, you can see the Palo Verde tree was still there. And let's see, then I had that pelargonium beside the fountain in the middle one is now growing in the far corner, and it goes all the way up an 8-foot fence and up into an arbor. It's just a huge growing one, and I think it just makes a nice wall of color. Right? Although I have to say that that picture on the left, that brownish ground cover, I forgot what that's called. But that and the blue, I just really like that. I think I like that kind of the best. The Drosanthemum micans in the middle one on the right-hand side of the fountain, I got a lot of interesting, close-ups of those flowers reflected on the blue and then the water spray, and that was nice. But I kind of like the simple brown and blue. And then the final thing that kind of helped that area along was putting in this raised bed. Just a few years ago, I just put a stake down and an 8-foot tether and sketched out a semicircle, and it provides extra seating. And I also put in these. I put in 2 of the raised planter you see on the right-hand side. That's an Acacia cognata, and I had one on both sides, but the one on the other side grew ginormous, and it caught the wind in one winter and came down, and that was that. I chipped out the bottoms of those planters, and so the roots extend out into the ground as well, and that works okay for the one on the left because it's sort of stunted. It's just I guess there's variability in the plant, and the one on the right was huge, and I've seen them get huge other places, but the one on the left just is a little bit taller than the fence, and I have to constantly prune to create an alleyway to walk through, but I sort of I don't mind. It's easy enough to do. It's within reach, and I enjoy sculpting it, but I kind of like it. It's sort of in between Cousin It and is that what they called the little one? I think.
Yeah.
And the full-size tree, but it has some of the charm of Cousin It. I think you see the branches up above. You can kind of see it on the picture on the left. You can kind of see the tops of the branches, and the foliage sort of hangs down from them, and it kind of has that kind of Japanese gnarliness you see in sometimes. I kind of like that. So I guess all of this story is sort of about a spot in the garden evolving over time and what kind of gives it shape. I guess it started with those archways, and then adding the fountain and the chairs, and then finally this raised bed. And I've left it a gravel garden. I like the feel of that. It's just one more place to weed. That's no fun, but I do like walking through it. And the damn PG pathways also. I'm actually talking to David Fikes about, he's offered me his crew some weekend. I can have them to help me scatter some more PG. After 25 years, sure, I have to weed it a little bit because things like to grow in that as seedlings, but I don't know if I have to get all formal on it. I think just scattering some more PG down and rolling it is probably good enough. If it made it 25 years, it'll probably make it for all I needed to do.
Yeah. Nice. Pretty garden.
And Mark, you've done a bunch of changes since these photos too. You've made it into your bulb garden.
You are right. Back to the right, if in that picture on the right, if you kind of follow to that little middle planter where there's an aeonium and go to the right, there's a pond back there. And on either side of the pond, I've created raised beds. And Ken talked to us about his African bulbs and amaryllids, I guess. And I got some from him, and I got Kathy Eccles called me up with an offer of Brunsvigia Josephinae, and she had a whole patch of them, and she sold her farm and moved to Oregon, and she invited me to come over and dig them up. So I've dispersed all but one of them I've kept for myself. And that's, one of the things in one of those raised beds. And then a few, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I went down and stayed with Ken when we did a horticultural tour down to San Diego, and he gave me a Buophony disticta, and I finally put it in the ground. I was afraid to do it for a couple of years. I just don't want to mess it up, and I wanted to pick a good spot, and it did really well. And it's got a nice little cone, bulb sticking above the ground. But I did dig that up and I moved it into the new bed. It's pouting a little bit, but I think it's going to be okay. So eventually I'll have this little African bulb area back around the pond.
So
Nice.
Mark, I was gonna say for your, I mean, I don't know if you want to do this, but I read an article that said baking soda stops weed seeds from germinating, and I started using it around my greenhouse, inside my greenhouse and outside my greenhouse. And it really has stopped the weeds. You
What
have
is
to
it?
do it. It's baking. I just buy a huge bag at Costco and then I scatter it in and well, I'm on brick so I can brush it in, but you know, I mean, you don't want to put it in your garden because then you're going to alkalize your garden, but on the bricks or on the you know, the pathways, I don't think you could harm it.
Gravel,
Not this
and
kind of a
PCs,
pathway.
yeah.
And
That
it
sounds
lasts
good.
about
What do
2
you call
years.
it?
Pardon me?
What are you calling it again? I'm not quite
Baking
hearing.
soda. You can
baking
buy,
soda. Okay.
I think it's a 5-pound bag at Costco.
Oh.
It's cheap
I
stuff.
wonder if I can work it into the new PG. Huh.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to do it on a regular basis, but it's still a lot less time than weeding.
Yes, agreed.
Good.
Anything but weeding. Thank you.
I do it once every 2 years.
Oh, okay. That's not very often.
Do you have
Yeah, and
to
I do
wet
it
it
in the
after you?
fall. I do it in the fall because the weeds, we have a weed season. I think we have to acknowledge that. And it starts with the first rains and then it goes on until the rains stop and then the weeds stop growing essentially. I hardly have any weeds in the summer, but I have so many right now. It's unbelievable. So
I only weed when it rains because when else will the roots jump out of the ground for you except when the ground's wet. So yeah. Okay. Looks like
Errol.
Yeah, well, this is for Bart, especially because I told Bart that I was going to try to do this, and I did it.
gorgeous.
That is beautiful.
So as you can see in the writing, it was bending over too much into a plant that I didn't want it. So I severed the head on July 4th. And then I read what I could find online. One person said, you know, I could have just put it in the ground right away, but I didn't do that. In fact, I haven't put it in the ground yet. I let it dry for a couple of weeks. I let the stem dry for a couple of weeks. And then I put it in this container with just a little bit, you know, maybe 2-3 inches of soil at the bottom. And then when I started to see new growth, I moistened the soil. And now I have to find a place to put it.
Roots on it now?
And actually, I do have, I didn't take a picture, but the stem has many new plants growing along the remaining stem. And I also removed a few plants early on in the, after I beheaded it. And those are in a container, a community container. One of them looks like it has the good markings like this mother plant. The other ones on the stem are still kind of green, so I don't know if they're ever going to develop, you know, the desirable color. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with all of them yet.
Well, yeah, they should on that clone, which that looks like it could either be Nova or Butine Blue, either one. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And that Nova being a clone that just has blue leaves. Those green leafed ones should just get blue.
When they get some sun?
Yeah, just when they get a little bit of age.
Bart,
It's the variegated ones that vary.
Bart, this is Josh. I'm curious, are Nova and Boynton's Blue, are they actually two totally different clones, or are they the same one with different names?
My understanding is they're from the same original collection, but that they're different individuals. And from what I've seen of Boutin, and it's Boutin, Boutin, after Fred Boutin, that I've always liked Nova better than Boutin Blue, but I think a lot of people think of them as the same plant.
When I've never seen them side by side. Do they look different if you have them side by side?
Well, I've never seen them side by side either. I just have Nova and a bunch of them now. And I've seen the good Novas also at Lake Merritt Garden Center. The succulent garden there has a bunch of them. And that it was that Nova was the first name put on it. And then I think it was British people said that Nova was an illegal name because it was Latinized. And then, and all it means is new. But then I think that there's plenty of arguments to be made, like supernova and the star novas, that it's, so what? It's anglicized, it's English as is. And so now you do see both. And since they were from the same original collection of plants, they probably are close, but my understanding is that they're two different clones.
Bart, I don't really understand how clones can become different. Color, for example.
Well, it's only on things like the variegated aloes and agaves. It's more where the buds come from on the plant, because it's like my agave tenuata variegata. The main rosette is really, really nice and very different from all of the pups, because the pups are happening on just different points along that stem, of that monocot stem, and that wherever the bud occurs, it is just rather than like most normal plants being sort of an apical thing, this is sort of a side shoot thing, and that they're all different. And that's why it's hard to get things that look identical to the clone on variegates of many agaves. But for other plants like a variegated pelargonium or whatever, they're usually much more overall going to be the same. Although again, you can get bud mutations on them. I'm trying to think of what the plant is that I actually even have some that you'll occasionally get a shoot that's completely white or just pale yellow, and that it won't really live unless it's connected to a plant with the normal variegation with green in it, simply because it can't create enough food to survive.
Wow. Yeah, I understand. I talked to not Robin, but another woman who was out here years ago. And she said a lot of geraniums that you see are from the same original plant. The plant itself constantly sported, and it's called sporting. And I think, I don't know if, I can't remember the name of the guy who came from the Harvard Arboretum, but he was talking about trees, that the cell structure at the base of the tree is not the same as the cell structure of the tip of the tree, at the branch tips, that they start changing and mutating. And that's what I attribute the catalpa, which is a hybrid of Chalopsis and catalpa, would be, I forgot what you say in plant world, but it, you know, it's a mule. It shouldn't reproduce. And yet Kathy Eccles started reproducing and coming true. And it didn't happen right away, but when it did, it was a surprise to everybody because they were trying to sell the Chitalpa as the future street tree when I went to an IPPS conference. And Kathy started producing seed, and it was true Chitalpa. So from what I understand, trees do it all the time on their tips. It just takes a while for them to get there.
Yeah, well, and on the Chitalpa, I believe, I mean, I've seen
You're kind of losing your Bart.
on them too, but morning cloud, the white, I'm not sure what else I can do. It's that morning cloud, the white form, the
No, it
white
was the
one
pink
with the,
form. It was
oh,
the pink
really?
form. Yeah.
I've never seen seeds on the pink ones, but I have on the white ones.
Yeah,
And
no,
again,
Steve developed them on the pink ones.
it's an intergeneric hybrid, a hybrid between two different genera,
Right.
which is a bit of a different thing. And that I guess the thing that would be interesting to do is to try to back cross it to either Catalpa or Chalopsis.
Yeah, I don't think Kathy did. She only went as far as germinating the seeds to see what would happen, and they germinated and came true to Chitalpa.
Yeah, because it's sort of, I did that with the Chiranthoformantia, the intergeneric hybrid between Chiranthodendron and Formontodendron, and I got every plant was different. And some real fascinating individuals. And I just got this year 5 seeds off of one of those F1 hybrids or F2 hybrids. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do. You never know. Sometimes they're going to be kind of apomictic, like what you're saying, that if you got seeds off of the Chitalpa and they were identical to the pink one, then it's without fertilization. Kind of like what you just heard, I'm sure, about the condors, the pair of female condors that produced an egg that hatched. These things can happen.
I find it all really fascinating.
It is.
They're always mutating.
Okay, this one kind of looks like a firework. Go ahead, Beryl.
Yeah, so for a garden that I was working at, I ordered a bunch of plugs from Emerissa of this Festuca glauca golden toupee. And this is one that I've had for at least 10 years, but the first 6 years of its life, it was living in a 4-inch container in the shade, and it just did not die. So I finally put it in a larger pot, and I love the color. It's you can see that it's kind of a yellowish green color. The stripe in the left part of the plant is just a little bit of sun shining on the leaves, and it's available online. I don't know if any local places can get it, but I like the color a lot.
It looks like it has a little bit of blue in it too, yes?
Not really, you know, I think that's mostly a function of the shade. I don't really think it reads blue at all. It reads green, green and yellow.
Very nice.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Saxon.
Oh, well, I was unsure of what we were supposed to be sharing, and most people have stories
Anything goes.
Anything, yeah, anything.
When I got your notice about let's share, I went out literally that minute and took these pictures of what was happening in the garden because I find December is extraordinary in this between seasons. There's always something happening. The earliest daffodils are always coming up. I always get them by sometimes Halloween, but certainly these are paperwhite ziva. They always come up early. My Saxton camellias, I find are one of my favorite plants. In my talks these days, I talk a lot about them because they're so tough and take so little water and take so much heat. I'm in Novato, and I figured out they do so well here because their flowering time is exactly corresponding to the rainy season. They start flowering in early November and they continue to flower until late March. And they just go quiet in the summer. They don't do anything. They're beautiful evergreen. I keep them heavily mulched and they get some modest water in the summer, but they're extraordinarily tough. I smile every time I walk out and see them this time of year because they're just, they're so easy. And then they're towering above them I have several ginkgos. These are the Fairmont variety that have more upright habit, and they're just, they're worth it almost for this time of year because they're so golden. And to walk up, they're just, you're basking in that golden light.
Beautiful.
They're also very tough. I'm surprised they don't appear on very many climate adapted plant lists, but they're really tough. They get the same water as these camellias do. And I've never watered them, but they obviously, because they're trees, they get, they find water elsewhere in the garden, but ginkgos are really tough. So and it looks so good this time of year with the Saxtons.
I love when they drop their leaves, this big carpet of yellow underneath them.
Yeah, no, I quite like them. That's why I planted them. Most of my front garden is all planted for fall color. So between the ginkgos and the tupelos and the maples and the Stewartia, the dogwoods, they're all and the pomegranates. I mean, persimmon. All those trees are great fall color. And
when's your best season in your garden? Would you say, or their
oh gosh, I can't say. I don't know. I plant the front for the fall, because I like all the fall color in the trees I plant. But I have a lot of native shrubs in the back that I am so fond of. That the Philadelphus and Stewartias and Ceanothus, they're all, they go from late February up till June almost. So there's no real favorite part of one's garden, is there? I mean, it should always have pleasure in it.
This is true.
So,
Saxton, I have to tell you, I have Yuletide, Camellia Saxton Yuletide.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
But I can't grow it in the ground, but I can grow it in pots forever.
Oh, well, if you go back to that last picture, that's my Yuletide looks fantastic because that one is Kenjiro, but right underneath the ginkgo is Yuletide. You can see it bright red. I'm so pleased because it has really bright yellow stamens. So it really looks so good when the ginkgo is in flower and the Saxton is flowering out too. So accidental combination, but maybe when you plant it in the ground, why didn't it prosper?
I don't know. I've had problems everywhere, and I don't know if I put too much organics in the soil or. I'll tell you, I think even the Japonica camellias, I've had 2 in pots now for 30 years, and they don't get much sun, the Japonicas, but they bloom for me consistently. The pots have dried out. You can see that they're suffering. I immediately throw water on them and they're fine. I mean, I think they are not talked about as much as they should be. I totally agree with you because I think camellias are really tough plants, really tough.
I have a series of Japonicas too, but they're in much more shade. What's surprising about these Saxtons, they're in the
full sun, yeah, I know.
The hottest part of my garden. And I have a lot of big trees, so it's not full on sun all the time, but it's the hottest, driest part of my garden. And
I grow my Saxtons in the garden, except for the Yuletide, but everything else is just spectacular.
Yeah, I like them quite a bit. So,
Saxon, when did your Yuletide start blooming this year?
it's blooming now. My Yuletide is having an off year. I have Yuletide, Conjuro, Cleopatra, and a white one, Apple Blossom. I have those four. And the Cleopatra, I mean the Yuletide this year is not a big year. I don't know whether it got stressed or too dry. It's right next to the Conjuro, and it's exactly the same water and mulching. Conjuro is looking fantastic, but the Yuletide has some flowers on it, not a lot, but they all started pretty much the same time, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Whether or not we had the rain or not is, I find irrelevant. They just always start blooming in early November, and then go until late March.
Yeah, here in Menlo Park, mine always starts in October, and I always think Yuletide. What are you doing in October? But it starts blooming in October every year, and actually, mine's just having a really good year. But it is closer to the water spigot than a lot of other things, so maybe that's why. But it's having a really good year.
Yeah, I don't know why my Yuletide is off. It's the closest one under the ginkgo, so maybe this year, it's deciding the ginkgo was too much competition, but they're old now. They're all 23 years old, so they all should have pretty much the same regimen. Then I included some berries in my garden. I have a lot of toyin. This is a volunteer. They come from the hillside behind me. But I thought I liked the picture because it was against the a maple behind it. I say I plant my front yard for fall color, so you get these nice combinations. Sometimes this is one of the toyins in my yard. On the right is a crabapple. It's called molten lava. I couldn't really get a good picture of it because it was so confusing with all the background. But behind it is Arctostaphylos. That's Sunset right behind Sunset and Monica. There are two of them side by side behind it. And then I planted this variegated holly just for the berries. And I, of course, had to plant a male plant to get the berries. But we made Christmas wreaths this weekend, and
Nice.
it's really nice to be able to clip the variegated holly with the red berries for the holiday wreath. So that was
Beautiful.
fun to show that.
Oh, nice. So that's a crab apple on the right, huh? Upper right, pretty.
Upper right, yeah.
It's a great color.
Yeah, that's the real color of it. It's really crab apples. Are so great. I don't know if you have to name a favorite tree for seasonal use, but they're magnificent and they flower in the spring. And the weeping ones, have a really nice habit, and then they have these dangling berries.
This is molten lava. Weeping.
No, I thought it was when I bought it. I didn't read it very well. It was actually on sale at the nursery, and I was looking for a crab apple, and so I thought it was a weeping one. I've trained it because oftentimes when they put out spurs that go downward, so I prune out all the ones that go up.
Okay. So it's kind of a Y shape then?
Naturally, it is. It would want to be, but when it arches out, it throws out spur. You can see almost in the background. You can see it throws out spurs that go downward. So if you prune out the ones that go up,
okay,
you can then force it to go to weep. I don't think it's meant to be a weeping cultivar originally, but the space I have for it, I have to keep it. And it's right in front of my office and in the driveway, so I have to keep it pretty small. So it's sort of a fun challenge just to prune it every year to see what happens. I keep threatening to take it out every year because it keeps wanting to get taller. But then I see the berries, and then when it flowers in the spring, the cloud of flower blossoms, of crab apples are just wonderful. Anyone that has them, be sure to prune them to keep them low, so that cloud of flowers is in your face. Don't let them get up 8, 10, 12 feet. They're so magnificent when they're small.
Yeah, I love the way the berries cascade. They're pretty.
Yeah. And then there was some weird about flowering. We talk about climate change. On the far right, you see a mandevilla. They should not be in my garden.
Oh.
And but we have not had a freeze here in 2 years. This is in a large pot by my deck, and it's growing up a trellis. And it would freeze. It wouldn't want it, but we have not had a freeze here in 2 years. So it keeps blooming its head off. It will die back. When we get a little cold weather, it'll stop blooming, but it won't die. And then in the middle bottom, that's my macronulatum rhododendron. They often throw out a second bloom about this time of year, and then they will bloom again more floriferously in late spring. I have a little collection of fragrant rhododendrons, which and this is one of my favorites. The fragrance it's like perfume. I just love this one. My wife can't smell it, so it's not delicate, but I really like this one. And then the left, the manzanitas are starting to bloom. This is sunset. I have a bunch of manzanitas along my driveway, and this is the only one that's starting to bloom. But clearly, it's in bloom. It's not that unusual, I suspect, but it's still just interesting to see. You have a manzanita, you have a mandevilla, and you have an azalea, all blooming the same day. I think that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of our manzanitas at the Botanic Garden are already done.
Done?
Wow.
Done.
Done? Wow.
Wow.
That is
They're
surprising.
really early this year because of that big rain.
Yeah.
Some of the glaucas are over, and some of the refusioensis are over.
Wow. Yeah, actually, I saw you refugiensis. I was in the garden. You weren't, anyway, I saw that they were blooming. It still seems awfully early for November.
Yeah, usually refusioensis is the first manzanita to flower.
Huh.
And that also xylococcus has already peaked as well. It's a very strange year.
Yeah. I think the plants were so stressed, they were looking for any opportunity to start flowering. I see around Nevada, the flowering almonds are already flowering.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I have Clarkia that are already starting, and I had sweet peas that were blooming until 3 weeks ago. It's been crazy. So I thought I'd plant a sunflower in September, and there it is. This is in Lake Oswego, Oregon, and I can't believe how lovely the weather is. It'll rain now lately, and then the sun comes out, and I'm eating lunch outside in the sun. So it's been really a fun experience up here, gardening. The people around the neighborhood are gardeners, and people just really seem to care about their garden. And in my particular area, they've taken out the front lawn, which you can see I still have some lawn there, and because I took out my entire back garden, the lawn, 10 yards of periwinkle and ivy. It took quite a hunk out of my budget, but it was important to me. After hearing all the other lovely gardens and the plants, the sunflower is the least important, but it was fun for me. And on the bottom, that ground cover, that's chestnut hulls.
Oh.
Yeah.
Marina, I think it's hazelnuts.
Oh, hazelnuts, you're right.
You gave me some, and my squirrels love the smell of it. So when I put it on top of my plants in my pots, they dug it all out.
Oh no.
I
Oh, buggers.
Okay, thank you, Lorena.
You're welcome.
Okay, Bart, you're on.
Yeah, a few things from my house. The one on the left is Iphion Jesse, which is selected for being more blue. And it really is a good blue, particularly if if you photograph it while shaded. I also have photographs of it in the sun, and it's not quite that deep blue in the sun. The plant in the middle is a selection I made years ago from San Clemente Island, Ribes malvaceum dancing tassels. And as you can see, it is just covered with flowers right now. Usually Ribes malvaceum and Arctostaphylos refusioensis are the first native plants to bloom of the rain year. And again, this one is just early this year. This one, the inflorescences can be about a foot long. And so this current year, it never stopped blooming. It basically just kept going and going and throwing some flowers off and on throughout the year. And so I was thinking it was highly likely that it would not flower very heavily this year, in when it normally would. But nope, it just went even crazier than ever with flower production. And there's still hundreds of buds on this as well. So it's going to be even more dense later. In the background, the other plant that you're seeing that goes all the way up to the top of the photo is actually a quince tree. So again, this isn't the ribes is not that big, although this one is gigantic. It's really only been in the ground, and it's in the ground because it rooted through the pot, and it's only been in this location for 3 years. And it's already about 12 feet tall.
Wow.
And then the plant on the right is just here inside, and it's Streptocarpus HP, and that the lower flower is sort of what they look like shortly after they come out. The upper flowers are more as they come out. And then this one seems to have produced a mutation and has that pink flower in the middle, which is very unexpected. They also do sort of change with their lighting, the amount of blue or purple in them. But again, that middle flower is always whitish to pale pink, and really unusual. I'm finding that a lot of these gesneriads are really, really, really easy indoor plants here. I used to grow Streptocarpus years and years ago, and then hadn't for a long time, and then just found some on Etsy that I decided to order. And they've all done really well. The other thing that I'd never been able to find for sale anywhere, but then I did on Etsy, was apesias, the so-called flame violets. And those are even easier than the Streptocarpus.
Bart, I grow my streps outside.
Yeah, I know. I have in the past, and then I just decided I would do these indoors. Where do you grow them at your place outdoors?
Under the overhang along the fence.
Oh,
and then
okay.
I unfortunately joined the Gesneriid Society. Well, it depends on your perspective. And you just get a lot of plants, and then I order a lot because the streps, I even have streps growing in the ground now. And I've had some in the ground now for probably close to 20 years.
Wow.
They bloom. No, they bloom in the summer primarily, or into the late summer. And now I have quite a few different ones blooming.
Yeah, they bloom for a long time. That photo I took probably about 3 weeks ago, and all of those flowers are still here, and still look good.
Yeah, they're long-lived, and I think the hybridization has gotten so out of hand. I buy mine on eBay, by the way. There's a lot of stuff coming in from the Ukrainians, and the Poles are doing unbelievable hybridization.
Yeah,
but then so many plants, so little time, and you got to take care of it all. So
this HP is, I believe, an Eastern European clone.
Yeah, they're the ones who are doing some of the best work in terms of getting really unusual stuff.
Yeah, and
Europeans,
that if you look to the right hand of that pink flower, you'll see some smaller leaves.
Yeah,
that's actually a different plant that has sort of a red flower.
Yeah, I have that one.
And
well,
it's,
who knows if I have that one? I have one.
Crystal ruby, I think.
No, then it's different. I mean, there's the gesneriid people don't even necessarily commercialize most of the plants, but boy, they're good at naming everything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that the apesias, it's the foliage. I mean, I
Yeah.
have all these that are kind of metallic reds and pinks
Yes.
and silvers.
But
And
they need a lot of humidity.
I've been amazed. Well, again, I'm so close to the ocean, but even
Yeah.
with heat on in my house, they haven't been phased at all, and they look great.
No.
So like I said, I've heard about them for years or decades, but I'd never actually found any for sale, locally to try. And that these came from somewhere in New York, and they were probably the very best shipped plants I've ever gotten.
Yeah, don't, Bart, you would be so sucked in. There's so many gesneriids out
Oh,
there.
I know.
And
I
this
keep looking.
society, you go to the meetings and everybody buys a raffle ticket for $1 and you come home, that $1 gets you 5 or 6 plants.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's just
Maybe.
awful. I mean, if you have plant greed, and I admit to having plant greed, God help me.
Don't
But-
we all?
Yeah, but this
Yes.
is like the first time I just felt like it hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to control myself, but that's not easy either because everybody's growing. Everybody is growing in that group from seed and oh my God. It's
Wow.
unbelievable.
Bart, Beryl asked if it was your streptocarpus was near a window.
No, it's about 10, 12 feet from a window. It's that the windows on my house I have windows all along the south side of my house. And that at this time of year, the sun goes all the way through the room and onto the far wall.
Wow.
And so, but it's not for very long. So the plants are just, all of my house plants are incredibly happy in this room. And the nearest one to the glass is probably 8 feet. And that's a variegated Ficus triangularis. So going on to this next picture, this is a plant that probably most people aren't familiar with, even though it's a California native. It's of the coastal chaparral environment or coastal scrub, coastal chaparral, and it's Neoridium dumosum, bush rue. It's actually a relative of citrus, and if you zoom in on those flowers, you can see that. And that the middle picture where you see a bit of pink, those are the flower buds unopened. And so first you get a pink look and then you get a white look with all those yellow stamens. And because it's citrus family, yes, those flowers are very fragrant.
Mm.
The fruits are about the size of a little fingernail, or maybe even a little bit smaller than that. And they have those glandular dots all over them, just like most citrus do. And they are green, but then they get an orangey red blush to them. They're not fleshy. They're not anything you can eat. And like many plants with rue in the name, they can cause contact dermatitis on some people, a rash, and that it's never happened for me, but I know other people who have had that experience. And if you are allergic to citrus, you're going to be allergic to this too. This plant that you're looking at, the whole plant on the left, is been in the ground about 4 to 5 years now, and it was grown from seed. And again, it's about a total of, the highest part of it's about 3 feet tall. In the wild, though, they will get a little bit taller than that, but not much. So it's actually a really good size for most smaller gardens. It's very twiggy and the leaves are fairly small. It is evergreen, but it can lose a lot of leaves in the drought, summer drought. But this one is just flowering earlier and better than I've ever seen one up here. And this is at the Regional Parks Botanic Garden, and I took these photos, I think, on Friday.
How much water?
Other plant associations.
Oh, that are with it?
Yeah. You said
Other
chaparral.
plants that grow with it, Artemisia californica, Salvia munzii, Salvia clevelandii, some manzanitas, although again, they're usually much taller and a little more inland. So it's more the glandulosa complex and Arctostaphylus australis from Baja.
Is this a Southern California plant or can we find that in Mount Diablo or?
No, it's definitely a Southern California plant, but clearly it's very happy up here. It's been at the Botanic Garden, specimens of it for decades. It's just,
I won't find it hiking around.
No, you won't find it hiking around up here.
Okay.
I believe as far north as it goes is probably the Santa Ana Mountains on the coast side. And then it's definitely common in San Diego, Otay Mesa, and to the west, and then in adjacent Baja. The other plant that co-occurs is with Aesculus perryi, the Baja buckeye. But again, it's a nice small size plant, and it can be grown very dry. This is planted in very well drained soil in this location. And again, I think it got watered maybe 3 times this summer, but it's in a dry spot.
For sale?
What?
Does the Botanic Gardens have it for sale?
Sometimes we do. I think there might be a couple of them around, but I'm not positive. We do grow it from time to time for sales because, again, it is a good size for most gardens.
Yeah.
And it's very adaptable.
On Calscape, it shows it growing no further than Dana Point.
Yeah, that's kind of, again, below the Santa Ana Mountains there. And again, it's coastal scrub and coastal chaparral. Comaristophilus would be another thing it would co-occur with.
Nice looking garden plant that should be grown more, looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I like the fragrant idea.
Yeah.
And then this is just 2 different Berberidaceae that are usually considered to be Mahonias. And most people don't probably know either one of these. Berberis or Mahonia harrisoniana, the one on the left with those really deeply cut, very stiff, leathery or rigid leaves, is called the Kofa Mountains barberry or Kofa Mountains Mahonia. The Kofa Mountains, though, are in Arizona. But this is actually found in California in the Whipple Mountains, which are right above the Colorado River in the eastern Mojave. And so it's a large shrub, can get to be probably around 6 feet, 8 feet, and about equally wide. Although our specimens at the Botanic Garden aren't quite that size. Again, these photos were taken last week, so this is what they're currently doing. They're in bud and opening. On the right is Berberis or Mahonia claireae, and that it's a dwarf, very, 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 very rare species from Baja, California, from the California floristic province. It's only known from the Arroyo Hediondo drainage system. and only in a few places. Uh, this plant at our botanic garden is the largest one in cultivation. It's about 3 feet high now. And as you see, it flowers all along the stem in clusters. It's just coming into flower now. The flowers smell like chocolate and are followed by berries that usually birds get. You can see that the leaves are fairly small and that there's usually just like one leaflet. Researchers in Taiwan that about 7, 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, did a big study of Berberis, and that they decided that this one wasn't related to anything else and that it should be in its own genus. And so they proposed calling it Moranathamnus after Reed Moran, who had discovered it. It's a wonderful little plant. I collected it years ago, and there are a number of them at Rancho Santa Ana, but they're all much smaller than the one up here. It probably is relictual down in Baja and actually probably likes the growing environment up here more. The Mahonia harrisoniana, the Taiwanese botanist had a different genus for it too. It went with Mahonia navinii, Fremontii, and most of those other desert ones into a new genus that they were calling Horrida because they're so stiffly spiny. There is a researcher up in Washington State that is studying this whole group again and will be either verifying that these things should be given those new names or who knows what. And we're going to be sending them material of all of ours from our collection this week because since they're actively growing, and there will be a bunch of good material to send them. And then just because, like Saxton said, fall color is a great thing, and that because this has been such a strange year, we've had more fall color and at different times than ever before. This maple is the vine maple, Acer circinatum, and this particular one always turns red. It can be very dark red, or it can be fiery red like it is this year. But usually over the past 5 years, it's always turned color in July and August. This is what it looked like about 2 weeks ago. It just colored up late, and it colored up much more vibrantly than ever before. Because again, usually it's more darker reds. And then on the right is Xylococcus bicolor, the so-called mission manzanita. Again, close relative of manzanitas. Why it isn't a manzanita, you can see one of the reasons there. The fruits are kind of coffee brown and smooth, but the other reason is very obscure. You have to open up the flowers, and the filament of the stamen is the same diameter the whole way from the tip to the base, whereas manzanitas always flare out considerably at the base. And somebody decided in the 1800s that warranted putting this plant in a totally different genus. You also see that the leaves have a distinct upper surface and lower surface, which most manzanitas are the same on both surfaces. But again, manzanitas, there's always exceptions, and Arctocephalus tomentosa does have those same bifacial leaves. But it also, the Xylococcus was blooming early this year as well. This was taken about 10 days ago. I believe, and that now a lot of the flowers have fallen off, and that they were in this one part of the plant. They were this kind of rosy pink this year, and usually they have a bit of yellow tone in them, but not really sure what that's all about.
Does it have manzanita type bark?
Yeah, it's smooth, not red. It's more cinnamon brown. It's a nice bark.
Beryl asked if it was there any other species in that genus?
No, Xylococcus is monotypic. And the other monotypic thing that some people lump into manzanita or Arctostaphylos is Ornithostaphylos. And again, it has a few small technical differences from manzanitas that keep it in its different genus, or at least currently do.
Okay, Bart, do you want to give us a recap on the plant and book sale?
Sure. And again, thank you to everybody that helped out. There were a whole bunch of people that volunteered either the day of or setting up in the morning or coming there the day before to get everything ready. So much appreciated to everybody. We sold over $3,000 worth of plants and over $1,000 worth of books. And if you were there, you know we were selling the books really, really cheap, and we were selling the plants really cheap too. So everyone got good buys. And again, it was great to see everybody and to have a bunch of new people come by that none of us knew because of the signage that was put up outside, and because Stribing was also having a bit of a plant sale the same day, although much smaller than ours. We did have some people come from their sale to ours, and they found similar plants at our sale for about a quarter to half of the price of the Stribing ones. So yeah, it was a good advertisement for Cal Hort. And again, thanks to everybody. It was a really big success, and just much appreciated by the people who came, as well as to those of us who got rid of some plants and other stuff. We really didn't do a ton of advertising, but again, it did get out to quite a few people, because there were people that I have no idea where they heard about it. We should have asked them more. Maybe they did at, maybe Charlotte did at the membership table.
Yeah, I'm not sure just how many. I know for sure one person signed up and has joined our group.
Great.
Well, we sent the information out to everybody on all our email lists, and then I also sent it out to, I found emails for a variety of garden clubs around the Bay Area. So I sent it out to those and encouraged them to pass the information along to their members.
Great.
Thank you, Ann.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody for all that pitching in. It was light work for everybody, hopefully, at least. I didn't go the day before, which I think was a lot harder than the day of, but lot of work, but a lot of hands, which was great.
Yeah, slogging
Really
the
enjoyed it.
books around was probably worse. But I know that there are now no or I now only have like the books for the silent auction whenever we do that. So it's like 2 or 3 boxes, and I still have the Joe O'Connor Australia boxes, but all of the rest of them are now at our meeting room. Andy and I put them up on the top of all that. Actually, I handed them up to Andy. Andy was on top of the ladder putting them up there. So he and I handled all those books at least twice.
Okay, again, January 16th, if you want to share for next month, we'd love to see all your stuff happening in your gardens. And then in January, Cristobal Igueta, it will be coming back. You did a fabulous presentation in September, but he'll elaborate on actually putting gardens in different places. So you can apply the principles of getting a ecologically sustainable garden in different locations. So that's what he's going to give us a little tour of different gardens in Chile in different areas and show how they've adapted different plants to different situations. And that is the end of the plant
Do we want
sharing.
to do we want to do our prize for the volunteers?
Yep. So we're gonna have a little, Mary's gonna share her screen. I'm gonna stop sharing, and then she's going to put names of that participated in the plant share and the plant forum and all their stories and pictures and such. And then we'll have another one for the volunteers. So I'll let Mary get that together.
Okay, so there's everybody who volunteered. Can everybody see that?
There we go.
All right,
Yay.
now I just click and then it spins. Let's go.
Yep, so these are the volunteers for the plant sale.
Oh, Kristen.
Oh, Kristen,
Yay.
yay. Have the sound. We don't
We
see the
have a
sound.
winner.
You win a $10 gift certificate for Annie's Annuals.
Ooh, that's a nice gift.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
They're having a
Okay.
sale.
Oh, good.
They are 15% off.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, should I go back to the? I
So
don't know how to
remove
do that.
Kristen.
Oh, did we
another one?
remove? Okay, we've got to remove. Oh, I lost that. I'm just gonna spin it again because hopefully it won't land on the same person.
Or
All right, Karen Ryder.
Okay.
Yes,
Karen.
yes.
I want to put another, the thing of the plants that people that shared tonight. In the meanwhile, while you're setting that up, we had some recognitions. I just want to recognize a few folks that have helped all year long and how much we appreciate it. Bart, who is the president, who's
Yay.
always there and presiding over the board meetings and organizing things and getting everything together, and our fearless leader there. And Mary, who is the secretary and keeper of the records. So that's always appreciated to have someone keeping track of what's going on. And then Mark, who does the coffee in the gardens and
Hey, Mark.
Facebook.
Facebook. Mark does Facebook.
And then Dave, who does the newsletter and the seed exchange, which evidently that'll come out in January's newsletter. And thank you everybody who contributed to the seed exchange. Andy, who resigned in October, but is still active and helped tremendously with the plant and book sale. Our liaison with the San Francisco County Fair building.
And that's really important right now.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, it really is.
And Dachshund Lou, who is the treasurer. So
yay, Dachshund.
When our old treasurer Carl stepped down. And then myself is the Zoomerator.
Yes, Zoomerator.
And then we have a few folks.
Without you.
Then we have a few folks that are not official board members, but are very involved in helping things get going and in keeping things running. So Charlotte, who is not on the board right at the moment, but is membership. So
nice.
That is
Yay,
very
Charlotte.
appreciated. She is looking for someone to be membership. If anyone is interested, please let one of us know. Richard Starkison does helps us with investing of our endowment that we have.
Thank you, Richard.
Very much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Kristen Yanker Hansen, who is not as participating as much as she did earlier in the year, but earlier in the year and for years and years and years, she was doing the chairperson for the program.
kinds
So
of
that's
stuff.
very much appreciated, all that what goes involved in procuring and finding speakers, communicating with them and setting that all up. Very much appreciated. And then Sean O'Hara, who was instrumental in helping set up our PayPal and also the website, I believe, as well. And then Ann Anderson, who is our essentially do everything.
Backbone of the
Yeah, very much so.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ann.
Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
She sends out all the emails and gets all of the a lot of the correspondence and such. So that's very much appreciated as well. So if anybody has any suggestions for program speakers or subject matter or something that you'd like, if you could throw it in the chat or again, reach out to anybody on the board or anybody to get to the board, that would be appreciated. We of course want to make sure that we bring programs that are interesting to people and everything as well. So are you,
Okay.
did you get everybody on?
Yep. This is the group that put the plant forum on tonight. Here we
I can
go.
hear you.
I just didn't hear the sound of the yay.
Yeah. All right, Beryl. Yay!
Yeah, we have to do our own. Woo.
All right.
Thank you, Beryl, for contributing.
Okay, great.
You get something
I
in the
don't think
mail.
I deserve it.
Well, certainly you do.
All right.
Okay, let's do another.
Okay,
Let's do 3 of these.
okay. Woo-hoo-hoo. Just barely got it. Good. Congratulations,
Mark.
Mark.
Thank you.
Yay.
Good for you.
Okay, one more. Here, let's get
Let her rip.
center this a little. Is this a little bit off there? Okay, here we go. Oops. Oh, there we go.
Do, 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 do.
I could do this all night. Ellen.
Do somebody else. Do
There you
somebody
go.
else.
Wow, you
deserve
can get
You
it.
deserve it.
There you go.
Yeah, you do.
Well earned.
Great.
Well
Yes, you
earned.
deserve it. You deserve it. That's,
Yay.
yeah, you have it. All right, great.
Okay, so what's everybody eating or drinking or what's going on? You guys got any cool appetizers or drinks you want to share?
I made the ginger lemon mocktail that I sent the recipe to with the original invitation to the meeting.
I was
Oh,
tempted. How
nice,
was it?
nice.
It's very good. It's very interesting and then very much, if you have it a mocktail or a cocktail, it's very satisfying. It's kind of grown up, and
Mhm. Nice. I'll look for it then. Great. I can see it.
Nice. Anybody else? We heard about, I guess, hot toddy.
Yeah, we heard
What
about
it
the
was.
hot toddy.
He's
Right.
dropped off though, right in that moment. So
I made a delicious hors d'oeuvre for myself from my fuyu persimmons, which I still have a lot of, and I still have a lot of hachiyas too. But from the fuyu persimmons with Stilton cheese slices on,
Oh, that sounds great.
quite divine.
it's just the cheese and the persimmon or what?
Yeah, it's
Put it on a
it's-
cracker.
No, the persimmon is the cracker. It's low cal.
Good.
low carb.
Low carb or low cal and gluten free. That seems to be the big thing these
Ugh.
days.
The catchword. There we
Yeah.
go. I also have a poll on that I wouldn't mind if you guys don't mind doing about next year. If you
Ellen,
guys-
actually, as a segue, can I just mention that the Western Hort is going to have our meeting on Wednesday, and we do have a couple that have done quite a bit of garden traveling internationally. And so if you need to look at a garden you're tired of looking at your own, join us on Wednesday for Cal Hort members to join Western Hort on Wednesday.
Do you guys see the poll?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is if you're ready for the in-person live meetings starting in the new year. And then so let me know if yes, I feel comfortable and would drive in for a in-person meeting. Not at this time, but once the pandemic stabilizes and is deemed safe. Or I like Zoom, and even though in-person meetings, I would join via Zoom and watch it later.
When you're doing in-person meetings, are you talking with everybody showing their vaccination card and everything and masks?
Well, that's one thing we could consider doing, and I'm fine with that.
That's
Yeah,
probably a
I've
good
gone
idea.
to a Justneriad meeting and the Parks and Recreation required that we show our vaccination card.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes, and so we all did. And there were people who didn't attend because, of course, every group has people who don't want to get vaccinated. And then the masking was required also by the Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, we've had to do that at our other meetings too, succulents and bromeliads.
Yeah, I think you gotta, I'm willing to do it, and the chairs wouldn't be right on top of each other. And
How was the turnout for the meeting, by the way, the live meeting, compared to, let's say, 2 years ago?
Of the Justneriad Society?
Yeah. 50%?
I would say 50%. I mean, we were very separated, and it's in the library there. But there are people who remain very fearful. And then there are people who refuse to vax. So we did it we have the ability, the guys who are running it are basically our techies. And so we did it, but with a combination of in-person and Zoom. So we had a big screen and the Zoom people could participate. So the first time that part was good, but then the second time Parks and Recreation forgot that we were coming and had all the rooms locked.
Oh no.
They've been kind of screwing around with our other clubs too, not showing up on time to get things set up.
Oh, they said we'll call, I don't know, whoever, and those people were pissed that they were being called. So it was real. That's why I was so concerned about the plant sale, and we were lucky to have Andy because he had all the keys.
Yeah.
This will be the first in-person meeting for Western Hort, actually.
Up and you're asking about Oakland. Let me just tell you my experience with Oakland. We haven't had any meetings there in a year, but the last couple of times during the year we had reservations and all that, and the building was locked and we couldn't get in.
Oh,
Oakland is terrible that way.
Oh my goodness.
Was this the garden center, Lake Merritt?
Yes.
Oh no.
So did you vote?
I hate to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice heads up, because this meeting on Wednesday will be our first in-person and Zoom hybrid meeting for us, because we haven't met in person for a year and a half, over a year.
Where do you meet?
Well, we meet in Los Altos, but the Parks and Rec, where we used to meet, they're no longer renting out that space. So we're going to be at the Shoop House, which is, I can't remember who it belongs to. I think it's a city park, but they have a nice meeting area that we used to meet in, SHOUP, and it's on University Avenue in Los Altos. So we'll see how it works.
And there's apparently a San Mateo Garden Club.
Yeah, in San
has a
Mateo.
building, and there was a guy at our last meeting, we ended up doing our very last meeting back into Zoom because of all the hassles.
Oh.
But he said that if we wanted to, we could certainly go to the San Mateo Garden Club and have our meeting. So it's just, I think the poll is a good poll. Ellen, and I see, are we going to do our poll? And I do get what you're saying.
Well, I only have 4 people that answered the questions.
Yeah.
Sam, I've been to meetings in San Mateo. Of course, it was way before pre-COVID, but it has a nice hall and it has good parking. There is a park nearby, and sometimes people that go to the park use it, but I don't think it should be a big problem in the evening.
And it's just that most of the people are from the East Bay.
Yeah, it's on Alameda de las Pulgas, but it's not far from Highway 92.
So I would feel comfortable but if you were going to have them at the stribing, you would be required to follow their rules. And the rules that they said to us were you had to be vaxxed, and you had to wear masks.
That's
Yeah, and
okay.
it's possible that, with this new variant, that rules are going to change again.
I've been to restaurants and stores that have required the proof of vaccination, movie houses, whatever. Yeah, so it's not uncommon, and I don't have any problem with that.
I don't
We went
either.
to a concert at the Old First Presbyterian Church in San Francisco a few weeks ago, and you had to reserve tickets in advance and say that you were vaccinated, and then at the door they checked vaccination and you had to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so
Judy, what are you going to do for your meeting?
Well, we're going to have a hybrid, so we'll have a live meeting and then we'll also Zoom it.
And are you going to
And
ask
will you
for?
do-
Oh, yes, we will require vaccination, proof of vaccination and masking. Yes.
And will you do it at the door? Is that how they?
Yeah, that's
the
our
ones who are
plan.
doing- Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Some of
Just
our
trying
clubs
to
have
envision that.
Yeah.
asked the members to, of course, there's like the bromeliad site, it's a lot smaller, but asked for you to send your information in that you have a vaccination card. Actually, send
A copy of the card. My garden
the
club is
card
going
so
to
they
do
would
that.
have a list of who had the cards.
mhm.
I think it'll be a small enough group. They took a poll and I think about 30 people said they would be willing to attend with masking and with precautions. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, this will be the first live meeting that we've had in over a year and a half.
Okay, so my other poll didn't come up. So my other poll was about who participated in the either visits the website or does belongs to the Facebook page and the Friends of the Cal Hort Facebook page. I don't know. We're just curious on how many people are participating, but I guess you can get that info from Facebook.
Yeah, we can tell how many followers we have. That number has been rising over time since we started several years ago, really making the Facebook page more active. It's not, we don't know directly without asking, without comparing it to the directory roles, whether if people who are joining are members or just people who found the Facebook page, while they were wandering around.
For someone who's saved some of my pictures, but I don't recognize them as a member, so
right,
there's at least somebody.
Yeah, we
but
have what,
they are
190 members on Facebook, 160, somewhere in there. Something slightly south of 200 people are friends on Facebook, on the Facebook page. And I don't think most of them actually are members.
like most groups, only a small percentage actually do much on the group.
Posting
or
Yeah.
or reacting.
You're the only one that you and Mark probably, but Charlotte, you are the one who posts the most.
Charlotte posts the most, Mark
say
does,
so.
and then I do a little bit. And it
Yeah,
would
you
be
do,
great
yeah.
if other people would post. Well, I mean, the thing with getting conversations going is you got to get them going. Somebody has to start them, and can't just be the same person starting them all the time. That's why it would be good if there was a core group of members from the board who would get on and start a conversation, and it would take a while. It takes a while. It's not like instantaneously. I mean, it's taken a while to build up to the friends level that we have. But the more friends you have, the more people are likely to see it. And if people who are already members join and participate on the site, then the people that they are friends with, most of whom are going to be local people, will see that. A lot of them will see those posts, and that's how that kind of benefit spreads. Is that my friends and neighbors who live in the same community I do see that I'm in the Cal Hort Society and doing these things, and they go, oh, maybe we'll join, or maybe we'll come to a book sale or something. So it's kind of word of mouth and personal recommendation. It's the same kind of system.
Marjorie Harris always seems to appreciate my pictures because she used to live on the same block.
Does anybody else have anything that they want to share or?
No.
anything of that.
ready to-
Well, if I could figure out how to do it, I wouldn't mind throwing up a picture of a plant that my husband thought was hawthorn, but I don't think so. I think might be a cranberry bush, American cranberry.
Oh, wow.
Or,
Let's see. Yeah,
Oh,
let's see.
I do have something after that too. Good.
let me find it real quick.
Well, you guys
there it
think
is.
of either good podcasts or good books about plants or good novels about plants that you want to share, or what else? Things like that that you want to share with the group that would be interesting to share.
Oh,
Huh.
beautiful. Really, cranberry, I don't think cranberries grow like that. No.
Hawthorn, no,
It's
cranberries.
not cranberries. It's called American, like
Oh,
Hawthorn?
Crataegus
well,
usually
but
has-
are
got
the leaves
spines.
right for hawthorn?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it looks to me like that could be Crataegus phainopyrum. Craetaegus. Phynopyrum. Called Washington thorn. It's a smaller Crataegus.
Okay.
There's one actually across the street from me here in Point Richmond.
and look at the size of the thorns.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was a squirrel tree, you know, it was a volunteer, but it was in an area that it was fine that it grew there. So we let it go, and it's real pretty.
Mhm.
How big is it? How tall?
Oh, what about maybe 10 feet or 8 feet, something in there about? See if I have another.
Okay. Yeah, it'll
There.
get bigger.
That's it, and that's it. Can you see that?
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's nice.
Oh, that is pretty. Yeah.
There's something behind it. It's not quite as tall as it necessarily looks, but yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm pretty
Neat
sure
plant.
that's what it is.
Good.
And that and again, I think it's a nice plant. I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
in some areas, I guess further north, I mean, in like Oregon and Washington,
Uh-huh.
it can be invasive, but down here it's not wet enough.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
no, it's just been living there, you know, without trying to spread it all that we can tell, so.
Yeah.
Well, I can
and,
tell you that
and
hawthorn
it does
is,
have those really nice berries.
Yeah,
Mm.
I noticed that usually one thinks of birds as eating those fruits, but I found out here across the street, they're being eaten by raccoons that climb up into the
oh,
trees
really?
and
Wow.
break off the little branches that have
You
the
wouldn't think
fruits
those
on
little
them.
branches would.
Support them, yeah.
Those thorns don't discourage them?
Not enough. Again,
Nice.
it will get a trunk on it, and you can, or it is grown as a street tree in some places. I mean, the one across the street, the trunk is probably about 4 inches thick,
Mm-hmm.
but again, it's a small tree, and they keep the top of it pruned so it doesn't get too high.
Okay.
It's probably, again, like I said, about 12 feet tall, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Good,
Nice.
okay, excellent. So I appreciate that.
Okay, so does anybody have any favorite podcasts they want to share?
Gardening World,
Gardening World, I don't know
which
that.
is
Oh,
from
Gardening
it's a
World.
UK, it's from the Gardening World magazine in the UK.
Oh, the BBC Gardener's World?
Yeah. And then there's one here that I keep referencing in the newsletter. He interviews all kinds of horticulture people, which you have to think of what it's called.
In Defense of Plants is a good one, but I think.
That's the one. yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's interviewed everybody, near as I could tell.
he was a speaker here at Cal Hort, by the way. in case
Yeah,
you-
I know,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I missed that. I love that guy.
Yeah, Matt Candy.
yeah, he was good.
With him.
I
He was
liked him.
very good.
Mhm.
And he evidently has a book out now, so.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
he does.
Nice.
He
Okay.
actually, he did interview me too.
Oh,
Oh, he did. Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll have
Back
to look
when
that one up.
Not a podcast, but a what do you call it? A
Blog.
well, Gerhard does his succulents and more blog, I guess. Is that what they call it? I think.
Yeah.
Shows up in my email feed, and That guy visits a lot of gardens. He joined us for a couple of years. I think he may have petered out with the pandemic, though.
Yeah, he does a nice job on his blog.
Yeah,
Good.
I enjoy seeing gardens through his eyes. I mean, I don't know if every one is a piece of art, but he just shoots everything from so many angles. You feel like you were there.
He sure made my garden look good.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody have any favorite books that are plant related, like novels?
One I read recently was the who was that guy? Powers' book on trees. It was a novel around ancient redwoods. It had some interesting passages.
Is that the
about
Overstory?
The Overstory? Yeah,
I love
I
that.
enjoyed that. Although it got a little crazy, but you know, there's still some great passages.
It was neat. They had probably about 5 or 6 characters, and they all had some connection with trees. And at the end, they kind of all, come together. And a big old thick book really kept your attention. Yeah, the Overstory.
But the way they described the amount of DNA, and at what point, how many millions and billions of years ago would the creature that would become the tree walk away from the creature that would become us? It's an interesting thought. You don't think of it, being that, but it's true. It's something like 25% common DNA, something like that.
Well, we're supposed to have, I think, 96% of the same DNA as a redwood.
Really?
I thought it was of a chimpanzee, was like 98%.
Yeah, but I mean, all living things have a lot of common DNA, and then it's just a very small percentage that distinguishes us from everything. But I'm pretty sure
I've heard that too.
that it's in the 90s with the redwood.
Even a mold is like 76%, something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised. If we're all living organisms, and we all think, from what I understand, when evolution started, it was just bacteria and antibacteria and
We are
else?
all derived from bacteria. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so why wouldn't we share all the DNA?
Yeah.
There goes the neighborhood. Yeah.
Well, and we're all habitat for bacteria too.
Yep.
If we didn't have bacteria on our skin, we would die. We have a lot of
in our gut.
And in our gut. I mean,
You're
And
a
in our
shocking
ears
percentage of
and
bacteria.
everywhere.
apparently
Any
by
other
weight, I think
30% of our body weight is bacteria and other small organisms, and we would die without those.
exactly.
We're really just one scientist said we are just a group of cells that got together as a unit and are helping each other. And that's what every human is.
collaborative cells?
Yeah.
We're just
Collaborative.
we're a group of cells, and they all took on functions like digestion and thinking and whatever. And
Luckily, they're holding hands so we don't fall apart.
right,
Yeah.
Right. We are
Right.
juggernauts.
Mhm.
Any other novels on plants? That would
I
be
think
I'm
most
reading
people
it.
read it.
You what?
Most people have probably read it, but The Plant Messiah by Carlos Magdalena.
Yeah, that's a great book.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful book.
Yeah.
I think you guys had him.
Yes,
Yeah, we
right?
did.
Last
year ago.
January.
he changed my whole paradigm on a lot of things about plants. I'd been told, for example, that if you only have one clone, it won't produce seed, blah, blah, blah. But that turned out not to be true.
He's incredible.
There are a lot of things that are said in the plant world that aren't true.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
so
Well-
passionate, and it comes through in his,
Oh, yeah.
and of course on his in person for sure. Which
Well,
Uh,
he broke every rule as far as I was taught, and I'm going, really, that's possible, and he did it. But he is self-educated. I'm pretty sure mostly.
And who was the author again of The Plant Messiah?
Carlos Magdalena. He's a Q, and he does all kinds of weirdo stuff. I spent quite a bit of time.
you remember him from last November?
Last year. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a fascinating person. But he's I have to tell you guys, he's so famous now that I'm not even allowed to touch his hem anymore.
I'm reading
Got 'em early,
Entangled
that was
Life.
good.
Yeah.
Which one?
Entangled Life. Is it Sheldon Drake or
Oh,
forget the author? Yeah. About the mycelium networks and the fungus and truffles and everything is just wonderful. It's really a wonderful book. I enjoy it a lot.
Entangled Life.
Entangled Life. Yeah.
Right. And who's it by?
It's right on my bed. I'm gonna go get it.
Okay.
I have to confess, I checked that one out, but it didn't motivate me to turn the pages for very long. I put that one down.
Merlin Sheldrake. Merlin Sheldrake.
Yeah.
Did you
Is
hear
it
Mark's
backwards?
comment?
Yeah, it looks backwards to me. Merlin Sheldrake.
Oh.
Yeah, it's quite good. How fungi make our worlds, change our minds, and shape our futures. Yeah, it's wonderful.
We're not alone here.
Yeah, we are not alone. Yeah. Yeah.
My all-time favorite, though, is the Botany of Desire for.
Oh, yeah.
Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Michael Pollan. Yeah.
That was
I
another
heard him talk
game changer for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Which one?
think the one that was better was Second Nature. That changed, or it was validation for a lot of things that I think.
Is it Michael Palin?
Yeah, Michael Pollan.
Mhm.
And that it's more that the entire world is now functionally a garden. Humans impact everything everywhere. And so it's just gardening at different scales.
Oh, I got to get that. I'm going to check that out.
It's an excellent book. It was sort of his first big hit book.
It came before Botany of Desire?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
it was his, I believe it's his first, and then the second one was on architecture, a place of one's own. And that he sort of did the same thing, but with architecture. And then Botany of Desire. I found Botany of Desire got a little bit too repetitive. I did not like the bit on tulips. Blobs of color on stems. I got bored by that one, but I like the other.
Yeah.
Been a while.
I like I like the way he turned it around from the perspective of the plants.
Yes.
Not
Mhm.
human centric. Yeah.
It's been a while since I read it, but the Brothers Gardeners that talks about how the age of discovery and exploration, bringing the plants back to Great Britain.
I love those exploration ones. I loved one with Humboldt and his discovery that plants change as they in elevation as they go, from latitude to latitude as well as up a mountain or whatever. I thought
elevation.
What was the book that Charlotte said?
The Brother Gardeners, and it's by Andrea WULF.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you guys all for joining
Good night.
us in January.
Take care,
Yeah,
everybody.
see y'all
Good
then.
night.